power of discipline. How to use self-control and mental toughness to achieve your goals. Introduction. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants the reward. But almost no one is willing to endure the silence, the setbacks, the discipline it truly demands. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for it to feel easy. And while they wait, life passes them by. Dreams rot. Potential dies. But you're here because you're done waiting. You're ready to face the truth. No one wants to say out loud, that real success isn't built on luck or talent. It's built on sacrifice, on consistency, on relentless discipline when no one is clapping and no one is watching. Discipline is not about feeling strong. It's about becoming unbreakable. It's not about having time. It's about owning your choices. It's what separates those who try from those who become. So ask yourself, are you willing to suffer now so you can live free later? Are you ready to build the habits, the mindset, the structure that makes greatness inevitable? Because this audiobook isn't about hype. It's not about motivation that fades. It's about rewiring your entire mindset. It's about cutting through every excuse and showing you how to forge unshakable mental toughness and self-control. No shortcuts, no illusions, just raw, powerful principles that turn discipline into your identity. This is your wake-up call. This is the threshold between who you've been and who you were meant to be. Welcome to the power of discipline, how to use self-control and mental toughness to achieve your goals. Chapter 1. Discipline begins where excuses end. Excuses are invisible chains that quietly steal your potential. They sound rational, they feel justified, and they often come disguised as protection. But make no mistake, every excuse you give is a decision to stay stuck. I don't feel ready. It's not the right time. I'm too tired. These are not harmless thoughts. They are the mental poison that feeds your comfort while slowly killing your ambition. Excuses are the stories we tell ourselves to delay the discomfort of growth. But discipline doesn't wait for comfort. It begins exactly where your excuses try to end your progress. It's in the moment when your mind says, rest, and you choose to rise. It's when you feel resistance and walk straight through it. Most people aren't held back by a lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They're held back by the constant negotiations they make with their own weakness. They lose to the internal voice that always finds a reason not to start, not to persist, not to finish. That voice is clever. It will tell you tomorrow is better, that you deserve a break, that conditions aren't ideal. But discipline doesn't speak that language. Discipline speaks through action, through consistency, through the quiet decision to keep showing up. It's not loud, it's not glamorous, but it is powerful. The disciplined person does what must be done, not because they feel like it, but because their mission is non-negotiable. That's where growth begins, not in the easy days, but in the hard ones you conquer anyway. If you want to take control of your life, you must first take control of your mind, and that starts by killing excuses at their root, by refusing to let them live in your thoughts for even a moment. Replace them with truth. Remind yourself that every excuse you make feeds weakness, and every disciplined action builds strength. No more waiting. No more justifying. No more defending delay. Let the old version of you die with your excuses. Let the new you rise, with discipline as your foundation. Chapter 2. Self-control is the foundation of greatness. Before success, before leadership, before confidence, there must be self-control. Without it, nothing lasting can be built. If you cannot control your own thoughts, emotions, actions, and impulses, then the world will control them for you. You will be at the mercy of distractions, temptations, and moods that constantly pull you in different directions. Self-control is the ability to pause when your emotions want to react, to stay silent when your ego wants to speak, and to stay on track when your impulses want to escape. It is the strength to act from principle, not pressure. Most people are driven by whatever they feel in the moment. They eat what feels good, say what feels good, and do what feels easy. But that's not strength. That's slavery. The truly powerful are those who master their inner world first. Because if you can rule yourself, you cannot be ruled by anything else. Self-control is not about becoming rigid or cold. It's about becoming intentional. It means choosing discipline over desire, focus over distraction, growth over gratification. It means you are not a puppet of your emotions, but the master of them. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. You begin to recognize the urges before they take control. You begin to anticipate your weaknesses and guard against them. You build internal systems that don't rely on feeling good to do good. This is where greatness begins, not in one big victory, but in the daily, invisible victories where you choose control over chaos. When you can say no to the wrong things, you create space to say yes to the right ones, and those consistent choices create character, and character shapes destiny. So build self-control like a muscle. Use it when no one's watching. Train it every time you feel tempted. Because a person who can control themselves, even under pressure, is more powerful than 1,000 who can't. That is the foundation. That is where greatness is built. Not in talent, not in charisma, but in the quiet, repeated strength of self-mastery. Chapter 3. Your mind must be trained like a warrior. If your mind is not trained, it will betray you. It will believe every excuse, fall for every distraction, and retreat at the first sign of discomfort. Most people never reach their potential, not because of external limitations, but because their own mind has become their biggest enemy. A weak mind constantly seeks comfort. It avoids anything that requires effort. It convinces you that you can't, that you shouldn't, that you'll fail. But the truth is, your mind is a tool. And like any tool, it can be sharpened or left to rust. If you don't train it, it will default to weakness. It will magnify fear, amplify doubt, and sabotage your efforts before they even begin. But a trained mind becomes your most dangerous weapon. It doesn't panic under pressure. It doesn't fold under stress. It stands calm, focused, and ruthless, even when life throws its worst storms. Training your mind means putting it through resistance on purpose. It means waking up early when your body screams for sleep. It means doing the work when your emotions tell you to quit. It means choosing focus when everything around you is pulling for your attention. Mental training is not about motivational quotes or feel-good speeches. It's about doing what is hard until it becomes your new normal. It's about staying locked in when the world is trying to break your focus. You must put your mind through fire if you want it to become unbreakable. The same way a soldier trains for war, you must train your mind for life, through discipline, through hardship, through constant repetition of strength over surrender. Every day, you're either training your mind to be resilient or allowing it to grow weaker. There is no neutral ground. Either your mind serves your goals or sabotages them. And that choice begins with what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you practice. So practice mental strength daily. Starve your mind of excuses. Feed it with structure. Flood it with clarity and purpose. Because the world will test you. Life will challenge you. And if your mind is not prepared, it will break you from the inside out. But if it is trained, if it is forged through relentless repetition and controlled suffering, then nothing and no one can stop you. Chapter 4. Long-term thinking creates long-term strength. Most people live in survival mode. They wake up thinking about how to get through the day, not how to build a future. They make decisions based on how they feel in the moment. What brings them the quickest relief, the easiest path, the most temporary pleasure? But here's the truth. Short-term thinking is the silent killer of potential. It convinces you to quit when progress is slow. It makes you switch directions every time it gets hard. It seduces you into abandoning the very thing that could have transformed your life, just because the results didn't show up fast enough. You can't build anything meaningful with a microwave mindset. Real growth is slow, quiet, and unglamorous. It doesn't care about your feelings. It demands consistency without applause. That's why long-term thinking isn't just a mindset, it's a discipline. It's the decision to focus on who you are becoming, not just what you're feeling. It's the ability to say, "This doesn't feel good right now, but I know where it's taking me." Every time you choose the harder road today for a better tomorrow, you are strengthening your character, your mind, and your future. Every time you endure boredom, resistance, or fatigue without quitting, you are doing something most people aren't willing to do. You are becoming unshakable. Long-term thinkers play a different game. While everyone else is obsessing over hacks, shortcuts, and instant results, they are quietly mastering the fundamentals. They don't need to be seen. They don't need to prove anything. They are focused on alignment between their habits and their vision. They understand that every sacrifice today becomes a seed for future success. While others are chasing comfort, they are chasing mastery. While others are busy being busy, they are building systems that will run even when motivation dies. That's what long-term discipline creates. A life that doesn't collapse when you're tired, distracted, or alone. But long-term thinking doesn't come naturally. It must be trained. In a world that glorifies speed, rewards shortcuts, and markets fake success, you must consciously rebel against the noise. You must remind yourself daily, I am not here to feel good. I am here to become great. And greatness is never found in one massive leap. It is built in layers, slowly, steadily, through the pain, through the boredom, through the lonely hours when no one is cheering for you. Every time you choose discomfort now for strength later, you are doing the exact thing that separates the successful from the stagnant. What do I want 10 years from now? Not next week, not next month. 10 years. What kind of life do I want to wake up to? What kind of character do I want to carry? What kind of strength, peace, and freedom do I want to feel? Now trace that vision backward. What actions today will make that future possible? That's how long-term thinkers operate. They reverse engineer their lives. They don't wait for a perfect time to begin. They build routines that pull them toward their goals, whether they feel inspired or not. That's real discipline. Doing what must be done even when your emotions are screaming for escape. Most people quit, not because their goals are too far away, but because their patience is too weak. They don't understand the compound effect of focused action over time. They want transformation in a week when it takes years. They expect mastery without repetition. But long-term thinkers know better. They respect the process. They fall in love with the work, not the results. Because they know results fade, but who you become stays forever. When you think long-term, your priorities change. You start to eliminate the unnecessary. You stop saying yes to every distraction. You start protecting your time, your focus, and your energy. You stop chasing motivation and start developing systems. You stop comparing your journey to others because you realize your path is your own. You no longer need the world to understand you because you understand yourself. Long-term thinking also builds emotional resilience. You stop overreacting to every failure, every rejection, every delay. You begin to see setbacks as information, not devastation. You become calm in chaos because you know this moment is just a small part of a much bigger plan. That kind of thinking makes you dangerous in the best way. It makes you hard to discourage, impossible to distract, and unshakable in the face of adversity. Discipline becomes identity. It's not just what you do, it's who you are. And when your identity is built around consistency, commitment, and vision, you no longer need to force progress. It becomes natural. You wake up and do what needs to be done, not because you feel like it, but because you don't negotiate with your purpose. You've trained yourself to endure. You've conditioned yourself to stay focused. You've chosen a life of long-term growth over short-term pleasure. The world is full of talented people who never became anything. Full of potential that was wasted because the vision wasn't strong enough to keep them grounded. Don't become one of them. Don't die full of dreams. Build your life with intention, with patience, with brutal honesty about what really matters and what's just noise. Long-term thinking creates long-term strength, but only for those disciplined enough to stay the course. So every time you're tempted to quit, ask yourself, am I making this decision for who I am right now or for who I want to become? If the answer doesn't serve your future, it's not worth doing. The path won't be easy. It won't be fast, but it will be worth it. Because in the end, the life you build is simply the result of the choices you made, day after day, year after year, when no one was watching and comfort was calling. Discipline silences that comfort. Long-term vision drowns out the noise. And that is how you rise. Chapter 5. You become what you repeatedly do. Everything you are, your mindset, your level of discipline, your results in life, is not based on what you do occasionally. It's based on what you do consistently. Your habits are stronger than your desires. Your routines are louder than your goals. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your patterns. What you repeat, you reinforce. And what you reinforce, you eventually become. Most people misunderstand this truth. They believe that transformation happens in a single breakthrough moment, a wave of inspiration, or a new goal written on paper. But transformation is not born in sudden bursts. It's born in quiet, consistent action, done again and again and again, until the action becomes automatic, until the effort becomes identity. You become the result of what you tolerate every day. And if you tolerate inconsistency, laziness, distraction, or procrastination, even in small doses, those patterns become the architecture of your life. Excellence is not an act. It is a system. The disciplined life is not built on rare intensity. It is built on reliable repetition. Every time you wake up and take action without needing to feel good first, you're reprogramming your identity. Every time you silence the excuse, reject the shortcut, and honor your commitments even when it's inconvenient, you are teaching your subconscious that your words mean something, that your standards are real, that your direction cannot be shaken. The truth is this: repetition is not just practice, it is proof. When you repeat disciplined actions, you prove to yourself that you are no longer a prisoner of your emotions. You prove that your will is stronger than your weakness. And over time, this proof becomes power. It becomes self-belief. It becomes unstoppable momentum. On the surface, your habits may seem small and unimportant, but beneath the surface, they are shaping your future with brutal accuracy. If your habits are rooted in distraction, your life will drift. If your habits are rooted in discipline, your life will sharpen. There is no neutral path. You are either drifting further from your potential or walking toward it with deliberate steps. The world will try to sell you hacks, shortcuts, and lifestyle tricks. But none of them can replace the raw power of daily, disciplined action. Because the truth is, you don't need a new plan. You don't need a new book, a new schedule, or a new motivational quote. You need to commit to the work, again and again and again, until it becomes who you are, until it becomes unthinkable to go a day without showing up. This is where identity is rewritten, not in the mind, but in the muscle, in the sweat, in the silence, when no one is watching, when no one is validating, when no one is giving you credit for showing up. Because showing up isn't supposed to be impressive. It's supposed to be normal. It's supposed to be your baseline. This is what separates the unstoppable from the average. Most people do the right thing until it becomes inconvenient. Disciplined people do the right thing until it becomes second nature. They don't wait for motivation. They build systems. They don't leave their goals up to chance. They tie their goals to behavior. They know that consistency is greater than intensity. And they treat every small action like it matters, because it does. You must understand, your life is a mirror of your rituals. The way you spend your mornings, the way you manage your time, the way you respond to setbacks. These are not minor details. These are your future, taking form in real time. You cannot fake consistency. You cannot fake repetition. Sooner or later, your habits will expose you. They will tell the truth about what you really value. They will reveal whether you're truly committed or just curious. That's why discipline must become more than something you do. It must become something you are. Not an effort, but a reflex. Not a struggle, but a standard. Until the work becomes automatic. Until excellence becomes familiar. Until the pain of discipline is replaced by the pride of mastery. What are you repeating daily? Are you repeating patterns that make you weaker? Or are you reinforcing the behaviors that make you a weapon? Are you building the kind of structure that supports growth? Or are you relapsing into the habits that destroyed you before? You can't lie to yourself forever. The results will speak. The mirror won't lie. If your life feels out of control, check your habits. If your progress has stalled, check your patterns. If you feel lost, it's not because you lack purpose. It's because you've stopped practicing purpose on a daily basis. Remember, change is not a lightning strike. It is a brick-by-brick process. Every day you lay another brick. And it's not about how fast you build, but how long you're willing to keep building. In the end, you don't become what you wish for. You don't become what you hope for. You become what you consistently do. So if you want to change your life, don't wait for a new year, a new month, or a new motivation. Change what you do with your day. Change how you speak to yourself. Change what you tolerate. Show up, no matter what. Repeat the right behaviors until they become the only way you operate, because when repetition becomes identity, your success becomes inevitable. And the person who builds that kind of discipline, quiet, focused, consistent, unshakable, doesn't need luck. They don't need hype. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They just keep showing up. And in the end, they win. Not because they were better than others, but because they never stopped building. Chapter 6. Discomfort is the price of growth. Everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to level up, to become more confident, more capable, more successful. But what most people never understand is that growth is not free. It has a cost, and that cost is discomfort. Growth is not something you stumble into by accident. It is not something that happens while you sit in comfort, waiting for a breakthrough. Growth demands something from you. It demands struggle. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you stretch beyond what feels safe and step into what feels uncertain. You cannot evolve if you keep avoiding the things that make you uncomfortable. And that's exactly why so few people ever reach their potential, because they run from the very pain designed to shape them. They avoid the hard conversation, the early wake-up, the heavy lifting, the mental silence. They seek shortcuts and hacks to bypass the very process that was created to make them stronger. But discomfort is not your enemy. It is your furnace. It burns away weakness. It exposes laziness. It humbles ego. and it sharpens you with every second you spend inside it. The more you try to dodge discomfort, the longer you delay your evolution. But the moment you start walking into it voluntarily, everything begins to shift. You begin to realize that pain is not a sign of failure. It is the evidence that growth is happening. Your mind expands when you challenge it. Your body strengthens when it's stressed. Your confidence multiplies when you face fear and keep moving anyway. Discomfort is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. You cannot become powerful while chasing ease. The very traits you admire in others, grit, clarity, resilience, confidence, are forged in hardship. And you can't fake it. You can't read about discomfort and grow. You can't watch a video and expect to transform. You must live it. You must step into the cold water, walk into the fear, stare down your own excuses and say, "I'm not running from this anymore." That's how transformation starts, when you stop avoiding what scares you and start using it as fuel. Every time you train your mind and body to stay calm in discomfort, you are building the kind of strength that doesn't break. Because growth doesn't ask for permission. It demands that you let go of comfort and step into unknown territory. And this is where most people retreat. They hit a wall and back off. They feel fear and choose escape. But warriors of growth do the opposite. They see the pain and lean in. They feel the resistance and push harder. They sit in discomfort until it no longer controls them, until they become immune to the noise and deeply tuned into the signal. That signal is this: you grow by doing what is hard, not what is easy. Comfort is the trap. It tells you you're fine where you are. It tells you there's no urgency to change. It wraps you in softness and pacifies your potential. But inside that comfort is decay. Inside that comfort is regret waiting to happen. Because every day you choose comfort over courage, your future dies a little. The discomfort of discipline is temporary, but the discomfort of mediocrity lasts a lifetime. And the truth is, you already know what needs to be done. You already know what areas of your life are soft, neglected, or avoided. The problem isn't clarity, it's comfort. You've allowed the fear of pain to become louder than your desire to grow. But once you realize that pain is the entrance fee to a better life, you stop negotiating with it. You stop asking for the process to be easier. Instead, you ask yourself to be stronger. And every day you step into that discomfort, even for just a few minutes, you're proving to yourself that you are no longer a prisoner of your fear. You are no longer hiding. You are no longer stuck in the identity that comfort created for you. Understand this clearly. The pain you avoid today will become the weakness you carry tomorrow. But the pain you face today will become the strength you embody tomorrow. That's the exchange. You cannot bypass it. You cannot trick it. You cannot skip it with motivational quotes and surface-level effort. You must earn your evolution. With sweat, with sacrifice, with disciplined exposure to discomfort, on purpose, every day. Whether it's waking up when it's hard, sitting in silence when your mind screams, speaking truth when your voice shakes, or staying focused when your body craves distraction, this is how you grow. And the more you expose yourself to discomfort voluntarily, the less control it has over you. You stop fearing pain and start using it as a compass. You start seeking the challenge, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you've tasted the power on the other side of it. Discomfort becomes your environment, not your enemy. It becomes your training ground. And in that training ground, you are forged, not just into someone stronger, but into someone unrecognizable to the weaker version of you who once ran from every difficult thing. So from now on, when you feel discomfort rising, don't flinch, don't escape, don't numb it. Look it in the eye and remember this. This is the price. This is the path. This is the transformation you asked for. Growth will cost you something, but so will staying the same. One costs discomfort now. The other costs your dreams forever. Choose wisely. Chapter 7. Focus is the hidden superpower. In a world built to steal your attention, focus is no longer just an advantage. It's a weapon. It is the silent force behind every breakthrough, every achievement, every powerful mind that rises above the noise. If you can master your focus, you can master your life. But if you remain distracted, fragmented, and reactive, you will never unlock your full potential. Not because you're not capable, but because you're constantly starting, stopping, switching, scrolling, doubting. The world is not failing you. Your attention is. Most people will never know what they're truly capable of, not because they lack talent, but because their attention is scattered across 1,000 meaningless things. Focus isn't just about concentrating harder. It's about building a mind that knows what to ignore. It's about creating a mental environment where clarity lives and chaos dies. It's about protecting your time, your energy, and your mind from the endless stream of distractions that disguise themselves as important, but only steal your life one notification, one scroll, one mindless habit at a time. The truth is, distraction is the default. You are not born focused. You are born curious, impulsive, scattered. Focus must be built. It must be trained, sharpened, and fiercely protected like a sacred flame. If you do not guard your attention, the world will use it for you. Corporations will hijack it. Social media will fracture it. Negativity will infect it. And slowly, silently, you'll become someone who is always busy, but never progressing. Someone who works hard, but never feels fulfilled. Someone who has big dreams, but no time to pursue them. Why? Because your attention has been stolen and you didn't even notice it was gone. The moment you take back control of your focus is the moment you take back your future. Focus gives you depth in a shallow world. It gives you presence in a distracted era. And more importantly, it gives you power. Because the focused person finishes. The focused person improves. The focused person transforms, not overnight, but relentlessly. Quietly, with precision that compounds over time. Focus is how you build momentum, and momentum is how you escape mediocrity. When you can lock in on one goal, one skill, one routine, and give it everything you've got, day after day without jumping from one thing to another, you create a level of energy that cannot be matched. You begin to separate yourself, not because you're more gifted, but because you're more consistent. You're not wasting your life switching between impulses. You're not chasing stimulation. You're chasing mastery. And mastery only lives where focus is sustained. Most people don't lack time. They waste it. Most people don't lack ambition. They scatter it across 20 different directions and wonder why they don't feel fulfilled. The most powerful individuals on earth are not doing more. They are doing less with more intensity. They are not everywhere. They are dangerously locked into what matters. That's why they rise. That's why they win. That's why they bend reality to their will while others scroll, complain, and start over for the 50th time. Focus also builds mental clarity. It allows you to stop chasing the world and start designing your life. When you focus, your mind gets sharper. You begin to notice the difference between movement and progress, between busyness and purpose. You start to say no more often, not because you're arrogant, but because you're committed. You stop consuming everything and start creating something. You eliminate the unnecessary so the essential can dominate. You stop being reactive to the world and start becoming proactive about your own destiny. Your schedule becomes sacred. Your environment becomes intentional. Your circle becomes tighter, and your vision becomes clearer than ever before. Why? Because your focus is no longer on everything. It's on what truly matters. And once that shift happens, your energy becomes electric. You walk with intention. You work with discipline. You speak with purpose. And people feel it. Because in a world that's mentally scattered, the focused person becomes magnetic. But this kind of focus doesn't happen by accident. You must train for it. You must eliminate the noise on purpose. You must rewire your habits, set strict boundaries, and master your environment. That means deleting apps, shutting off distractions, building a morning routine, and ruthlessly protecting your peak hours. That means making hard choices, cutting off relationships that drain you, saying no to fake urgency, and refusing to spend your life reacting to things that don't matter. That means becoming the kind of person who values peace over popularity, growth over gossip, results over reactions. Because every time you get distracted, every time you let someone else dictate your day, you lose power. You fall back into the world's trap. And that's where average lives. That's where dreams die. In a sea of interruptions, in a fog of noise, in a cycle of meaningless actions that feel urgent but lead nowhere. So what's the solution? It's not just about working harder. It's about working cleaner, sharper, smarter. It's about simplifying your life until only what truly matters remains. You choose one mission. You define your goals. You build systems around them. And you protect your focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your attention is your life. What you give it to, you give your future to. Every second of focused effort is a deposit in the bank of mastery. Every hour of deep work is a brick in the foundation of legacy. This is how you build something great, not by chasing everything, but by doing one thing with relentless focused intensity, over and over, until the world has no choice but to notice, until success is no longer a wish. It's a byproduct of your discipline. So if you want to reclaim your life, start with your focus. Audit it. Guard it. Master it. Because in the age of distraction, the ability to focus is the rarest form of freedom. And the person who owns their focus owns their future. Chapter 8. Stop negotiating with your weakness. There is a war happening inside your mind every day. A war between who you are and who you could become. Between the voice that says, keep going, and the voice that says, take it easy. One of those voices will win. And the side that wins is always the one you feed. The truth is, most people lose the war before it even begins. Not because they're weak, but because they keep negotiating with their weakness. They argue with it. They reason with it. They try to compromise with it. But weakness doesn't need a conversation. It needs domination. The moment you start entertaining the thought of skipping the work, the moment you start listening to the inner voice telling you to rest, delay, or quit, that's when discipline dies. Discipline doesn't happen in the big decisions. It happens in the thousands of small silent moments where your mind says, no, and you say, do it anyway. If you keep negotiating with your old self, you will never become your future self, because weakness doesn't leave on its own. You must drive it out, with action, with commitment, with zero tolerance for mental softness. The difference between the disciplined and the defeated is simple. Disciplined people don't negotiate with laziness. They override it. They don't sit around analyzing whether they feel like showing up. They show up. They don't give their emotions the power to decide whether today matters. They decide. Every day without permission, without debate, without drama. The undisciplined person looks for a reason to quit. The disciplined person looks for a reason to continue. The undisciplined person listens to their feelings. The disciplined person listens to their mission. You can't have both comfort and greatness. One will always cancel the other. If you keep giving your weakness a seat at the table, it will eat your ambition alive, and it won't be loud about it. It'll do it slowly, quietly, invisibly, until one day you wake up and realize you've built your life around excuses, softness, and surrender. And by then, it's already too late to undo the cost. Every time you say, "just this once," you train yourself to betray your own word. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you train your mind to deprioritize your own growth. You are not just making a choice in that moment. You are building a habit of escape. You are conditioning yourself to be unreliable, even to yourself. And if you can't trust your own word, how can you expect life to reward you? Discipline begins when the negotiation ends, when you stop arguing with yourself and just execute, when you kill the middleman between thought and action, when the moment you say, "I'm going to do it," it's already done. That's the kind of mindset that makes people unstoppable. That's the kind of energy that builds empires. It's not talent. It's not inspiration. It's the raw, unbreakable decision to stop giving your weakness the microphone. The inner voice that tells you to quit will never disappear. But it can be silenced, not with motivation, not with tricks, but with consistent execution. Action is the cure. You don't fix laziness by analyzing it. You don't overcome procrastination by journaling about it. You overcome it by movement, by doing, by proving to yourself that the voice in your head doesn't get to decide who you become. You do. And once you understand that weakness is just a whisper, not a command, you begin to reclaim your power. Because your emotions aren't instructions. They're just impulses. They're suggestions. And most of them are wrong. They come from fear, from your past, from your lowest self trying to protect its position in your life. But that version of you has to die if you ever want to rise. Weakness is clever. It will disguise itself as self-care. It will call itself rest, patience, or being realistic. But underneath all that is fear. Fear of change, fear of failure, fear of success. And fear loves comfort. It feeds on indecision. It thrives when you start negotiating. That's why you must draw a line. A clear, permanent line between what you will and will not tolerate from yourself. And from that moment on, there is no debate. You don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" You ask, "What must be done?" And then you do it. That is the mindset that builds warriors. That is the discipline that builds unshakable lives. You must also become aware of your patterns. When does weakness show up? What triggers it? Is it when you're tired? When you're stressed? When you're alone? Learn the times and places it tries to creep in and fortify those places. Build structure around your soft spots. Eliminate the environments that feed your excuses. Design your routines to protect your standards. This is how you remove the temptation to negotiate. Because when your environment supports discipline, discipline becomes automatic. You no longer rely on willpower. You rely on systems. And systems don't negotiate. Systems execute. Systems perform. That's why the most disciplined people don't look strong. They just look consistent. They've already removed the option to quit before the moment even arrives. So if you want to take back control of your life, start here. Stop negotiating with your weakness. Cut it off. Starve it. Destroy it. Don't entertain it for 1 second longer. Speak to yourself with power. Move like your future depends on your next step, because it does. The stronger you become at silencing weakness, the more mental energy you unlock for your goals, for your discipline, for your evolution. Remember, comfort is a liar. Weakness is a liar. And your best life is on the other side of that internal war. So get ruthless, get sharp, get to work, and never again give weakness the final word. Chapter 9. Emotional discipline makes you dangerous. The most powerful people in the world are not the loudest, the strongest, or the most aggressive. They are the ones who have mastered the ability to remain calm when everyone else is losing control. Emotional discipline is not about suppressing how you feel. It's about mastering how you respond. It's the ability to pause, Observe and choose, not react. And this one skill, more than talent or intelligence, determines the level of control you have over your life. Because in a world where emotions rule most people, where anger, jealousy, fear, and insecurity are constantly pulling the strings, those who have trained themselves to rise above their emotional impulses become dangerous. Not dangerous in a harmful way. Dangerous in a focused, precise, and composed way. Because while others are busy reacting, explaining, defending, and falling apart, the emotionally disciplined remain grounded, silent, and in full command of themselves. And in that silence lies unmatched power. Emotions are not your enemy, but they are wild animals. If you do not learn to tame them, they will turn on you. Every outburst, every overreaction, every emotional decision made in haste becomes a chain that holds you back. You say things you don't mean. You do things you regret. You create damage that takes years to fix, just because you refused to pause. Just because you let your emotions lead instead of your principles. But when you develop emotional discipline, you become unpredictable in the best way. People can't provoke you. Insults don't move you. Chaos doesn't shake you. You become a force of stability in a world addicted to volatility. And that's when your influence begins to grow, because people trust the calm, not the chaotic. They follow the grounded, not the impulsive. The person who cannot be emotionally triggered becomes the one everyone looks to when the storm hits. But emotional discipline doesn't come naturally. It must be trained through intentional resistance. You have to learn to pause when your ego is on fire. You have to sit in silence when your emotions scream for release. You have to resist the urge to explain yourself, to prove yourself, to match someone else's chaos with your own. That's where the work is. That's where the mastery begins. Because anyone can be calm when life is easy. But emotional discipline is forged in the hard moments, when you're tested, misunderstood, criticized, provoked, or betrayed. That's when most people snap. But that's also where the elite rise, because they've trained for it. They've rehearsed how to remain still in chaos. They've rewired their mind to slow down, zoom out, and respond with precision rather than emotion. And this kind of control doesn't just elevate your relationships, it elevates your entire life. In business, in leadership, in decision-making, in health, in goals. Emotional discipline keeps you on track when pressure builds. It stops you from burning bridges. It prevents you from making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. It allows you to keep your head when others are losing theirs. And in that clarity, you gain an edge that most will never possess. Because most people are prisoners of their mood. One insult ruins their day. One failure shatters their confidence. One delay throws them into despair. But not you. Not if you master your internal world. You will no longer be a slave to external events. You will no longer need circumstances to be perfect for you to stay grounded. Your peace will no longer depend on people's behavior. Your power will come from within, and no one will be able to take that from you. The most dangerous version of you is the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't explain, the one who doesn't chase, the one who speaks with action, not emotion. That version of you doesn't need validation because it is self-defined. It doesn't get dragged into drama because it has direction. It doesn't overreact because it is ruled by values, not feelings. And you get to that level by training, by catching your triggers, by becoming aware of what sets you off, by rewiring your emotional defaults through repetition, reflection, and radical responsibility. No more blaming others. No more saying, "They made me angry." No, you allowed yourself to react, and now you're taking your power back. You are reclaiming every moment, every breath, every inch of control, not by becoming numb, but by becoming intentional. This is what emotional discipline gives you, clarity under pressure, control over chaos, presence in conflict, and strength where others break. When others yell, you whisper. When others panic, you think. When others seek revenge, you seek wisdom. That is what makes you lethal. Not rage, but restraint. Not dominance, but detachment. Not volume, but vision. Because you no longer fight for ego, you move with purpose, and that purpose sharpens you. It gives you direction. It keeps you from being pulled into distractions, traps, and battles that don't deserve your energy. So train your emotional discipline like a warrior trains his weapon. Sharpen it through silence. Strengthen it through resistance. Reinforce it with structure. Observe your reactions. Challenge your habits. Speak less. Watch more. And remember this: the person who can stay calm in chaos is the one who controls the outcome. That's what makes emotional discipline the most dangerous superpower in the modern world. It's invisible, it's rare, and it changes everything. Chapter 10. Build a system, not just willpower. Willpower is a spark. Systems are the engine. Most people try to change their lives by relying solely on willpower. They try to wake up earlier, eat better, work harder, stay focused, all by pushing themselves through sheer force. And it works for a few days, until they get tired, until their emotions change, until life throws stress, distraction, fatigue, or temptation into the equation. Then they fall. They relapse. They give up. Not because they are weak, but because they never had a structure in place to support their decision. The hard truth is this: willpower is fragile. It is inconsistent. It is emotional. And any life built on emotion will crumble under pressure. If you want to sustain progress, stay disciplined, and build something lasting, you need a system. You need structure. You need a routine that works even on your worst days. You need to build a life where success becomes the default, not the exception. The disciplined don't rely on motivation. They rely on strategy. They've created environments that align with their goals. They've eliminated friction between themselves and the work. They've automated the right habits and removed the options that lead to failure. Systems don't care how you feel. They don't ask for permission. They execute. That's what makes them powerful. If you wake up every morning and have to convince yourself to do the right thing, you're going to lose more days than you win. But if you build systems that trigger the right behaviors automatically, you no longer need to argue with your emotions. You just do what's required. It becomes embedded in your routine. It becomes the natural flow of your day. That's how real change happens, not in a single decision, but in a repeated sequence that's hardwired into your life. So what is a system? A system is a blueprint. It's a series of rules, habits, environments, and triggers that work together to push you forward regardless of how you feel. It's the reason why some people show up and execute every day with almost robotic precision, not because they're more disciplined, but because they've removed the variables. They've made the decision once and embedded it into their identity. Systems begin where excuses end. When your time is scheduled, your decisions are pre-made. When your environment is clean and designed with intention, distractions become harder to reach. When your priorities are tied to daily routines, inconsistency becomes harder to justify. Most people think they need more discipline, but what they really need is less chaos, fewer options, and stronger structure. Look around you. Your environment is either pulling you forward or dragging you down. Your habits are either automating your progress or automating your failure. You're not failing because you're lazy. You're failing because your system is weak. Or worse, you don't have one. You're relying on emotional bursts to carry the weight of long-term transformation. But real growth requires consistency, and consistency requires design. You must engineer your success. You must build systems that move you toward your goals even when life is hard, even when motivation dies, even when you're exhausted. That means creating rituals, protecting your morning, structuring your evening, scheduling your work, blocking your focus, automating your success until there is no room for negotiation. Think of the best athletes, artists, leaders, and thinkers in the world. They don't wing it. They have structure. They have routines. They've built systems so effective that their results become inevitable. They don't depend on willpower to get to the gym, write the book, or lead the team. They follow a process. They wake up and execute without thinking. That's not magic. That's structure. And the best part? Anyone can build it. You don't need to be special. You just need to stop chasing motivation and start building frameworks. Ask yourself, what are the 5 things I need to do every day to win? Then automate them. Design your life around them. Make them non-negotiable. Eliminate the need to choose, and you eliminate the risk of failure. If you want lasting discipline, build a system that removes emotion from the equation. Systems protect you from yourself. They allow you to keep progressing even when life is heavy, even when you're doubting yourself, even when the world is chaotic, because you're no longer relying on how you feel. You're relying on what you've built. Systems are cold. They don't care about mood swings. They just work, and that's exactly what makes them reliable. You show me someone who gets results year after year, and I'll show you someone who has systems in place for sleep, for work, for thinking, for training, for learning, for focus, for rest. Not perfect systems, but consistent ones. And that consistency is what separates the powerful from the potential. So if you're serious about growth, stop depending on willpower to carry you through. Willpower will get you started, but only systems will keep you going. Design your mornings. Design your inputs. Design your habits. Create boundaries around your time. Build processes that protect your priorities, and then execute them until they become automatic. Because when your system is stronger than your emotions, your progress becomes inevitable. That's the final stage of discipline. Not trying harder, but designing smarter. Not pushing with force, but pulling with structure. And once you live there, once systems run your life instead of emotion, your transformation is no longer a wish. It's just a matter of time. Chapter 11. Ruthless consistency builds unbreakable identity. Consistency isn't sexy. It isn't exciting. It doesn't get applause, but it's the only thing that builds anything real. In a world addicted to intensity, short bursts of effort, emotional highs, dramatic starts, consistency is the quiet killer that separates those who dream from those who dominate. Most people want instant results, so they put in a hard week, maybe a hard month. But the second life pushes back. They slow down. They disappear. They wait until they feel ready again. But the truth is, you don't need more inspiration. You need ruthless consistency. Because it's not what you do once that changes your life. It's what you do over and over again when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's invisible, when no one is clapping and no one is checking. That's when the real you is built. Your identity is not shaped in peak moments. It's forged in repetition. If you show up every day and act like the person you want to become, eventually that's who you are. Not because you said it, but because you proved it. Through habit, through repetition, through relentless follow-through. You become what you commit to. You become what you prioritize. You become what you tolerate. And the truth most people avoid is this. If you are inconsistent, it's not a scheduling problem. It's an identity problem. It means you haven't decided who you are. Because once your identity is clear, your behavior locks in. You don't have to think about brushing your teeth. You just do it. That's what consistency does to your discipline. It makes it default. It turns effort into instinct. It turns action into automation. And over time, it turns your life into proof. But to get there, you must stop breaking promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and you don't, you erode your own self-respect. Every time you set a goal and quit halfway, you teach your mind that your word is flexible, that you can be negotiated with, that your feelings are allowed to override your commitments. That is how self-doubt is born. Not from failure, but from inconsistency. People don't trust themselves because they've spent years proving they're unreliable to their own goals. But the good news? That pattern can be reversed. Every act of consistency, no matter how small, is a vote for a stronger identity, a sharper mind, a more disciplined life. You don't need to start big. You just need to start showing up the same way day after day until there's no room for debate. Consistency is also the ultimate equalizer. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the fastest. You just need to outlast. Because in every field, in every journey, most people quit. They start strong and then vanish. They can't stomach the silence, the repetition, the grind. But if you can, you become rare. You become valuable. You become unstoppable. Because now your results don't depend on mood or motivation. They depend on momentum. That kind of momentum turns you into a machine, not a robot, but a human being so aligned with their mission that quitting becomes unthinkable. A person so locked into their purpose that inconsistency feels like betrayal. That's the level you need to reach, where being inconsistent is no longer an option, where it feels unnatural to skip the work. That's when the transformation becomes permanent. And yes, it will be boring. Yes, it will be thankless. You'll show up on days when everything feels pointless. You'll do the work when it feels like nothing is happening. But remember this: progress is always happening behind the scenes, quietly, invisibly, slowly. And then one day it shows. One day you wake up and you've become the person others admire, the person who has peace, power, clarity, discipline. And they'll call it talent or luck or magic. But you'll know the truth. It was consistency. Ruthless consistency. The kind that never negotiates. The kind that doesn't care if it's raining, if you're tired, if it's your birthday, if no one notices. The kind that just shows up every day because that's who you are now. That's what identity is. Not talk. Not hype. Just action repeated until it rewires your life. So if you want to build a life that cannot be broken, stop chasing breakthroughs and start building consistency. Lock in your habits. Structure your day. Show up no matter what. Become allergic to excuses. And remind yourself daily, it's not what I do occasionally that defines me. It's what I do relentlessly. You don't rise because of what you say. You rise because of what you repeat, over and over and over again. That's the grind. That's the secret. And that's the reason you will not fail. Chapter 12. Create unbreakable systems that run without emotion. Emotion is unreliable. Some days you feel powerful. Other days you feel nothing. Some mornings you're energized. Other mornings, you're drowning in resistance. And if you allow those emotional waves to dictate your behavior, your life will forever be ruled by chaos. This is where most people fail, not because they lack ambition, but because they've built no structure to protect that ambition from their inconsistent moods. What you need is a system that runs without emotion, a framework that doesn't ask how you feel. It just activates, because discipline built on emotion will collapse the moment resistance shows up. But discipline built on systems becomes automatic, inevitable, and unbreakable. A system is your defense against inconsistency. It removes the need for daily decision-making. It eliminates negotiation. It forces action by design, not by will. When your actions depend on motivation, you become a prisoner of your environment. But when your life is built on structure, routine, and predetermined behaviors, you are free. Free from hesitation. Free from emotional sabotage. Free from the friction that stops most people before they even begin. Systems create clarity. They remove the guesswork. They replace "should I" with "this is what I do." And when that kind of structure is wired into your daily life, your discipline stops being reactive and becomes identity. Let's break it down. A system is made of triggers, rules, and flow. It begins with triggers. A time, a place, a signal that activates the behavior. For example, when the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., you don't think, you move. That trigger signals the beginning of your system. Next come the rules, non-negotiable behaviors that are tied to that trigger. For example, when I wake up, I journal. I train. I don't touch my phone. These aren't goals. They're commands. You obey them because they are programmed, not because you feel inspired. Lastly, the flow. A sequence that is so smooth, so practiced, that there is no room for resistance to creep in. The process pulls you. You don't think about it. You don't delay. You execute. This is how high performers operate. Not by making perfect choices every day, but by building bulletproof systems that execute automatically. Their systems protect their priorities. Their systems eliminate distractions before they even appear. Their systems free up mental bandwidth so they can focus on what truly matters. The truth is, you already run systems in your life. You have a system for procrastination, a system for distraction, a system for emotional eating, a system for avoidance. The problem isn't that you don't have systems. It's that your current systems are designed for failure. And until you redesign those systems to serve your goals, your discipline will always be unstable. Start with your morning. What happens in the first hour of your day? Is it random or is it engineered? Do you wake up and scroll or wake up and dominate? The way you start your day is your first domino. Get that system right and everything else aligns. Get it wrong and the day spirals. Next, design your work blocks. Do you have protected time for deep focus? Or do you let everyone and everything interrupt your momentum? Build in time blocks. Lock the doors. Turn off your phone. Schedule your distractions. Create invisible walls around your purpose. Your system should support that by default, not by force. Then, your evening. Is it chaotic? Do you collapse into the night with no direction? Or do you have a shutdown routine? A time to disconnect, reflect, prepare for the next day. Systems are not just about productivity. They're about sustainability. They prevent burnout by creating rhythm. They protect your energy by reducing decisions. They give your brain space to breathe. Because the more decisions you make, the weaker your willpower becomes. Systems preserve your willpower by automating the right choices, so you never waste energy choosing again. And here's the most important part. Systems are not emotional. They don't ask how your day went. They don't care if you're tired. They don't let you off the hook because it's your birthday. Systems don't bend to feelings. They just run. That's why they work. Because when life gets hard, and it always will, systems keep moving. Emotion will fail you when you're stressed, broken, betrayed, exhausted. But your systems will hold. They will anchor you. They will execute when your emotions want to collapse. That's why you build them in advance. Not for the good days, but for the days when you feel like nothing is working. That's when your system becomes your lifeline. The world celebrates willpower, but systems win wars. The highest performers don't win because they are stronger. They win because their system is stronger. They don't rely on effort. They rely on engineering. Their discipline is not a personality trait. It's a structure they designed. And you can do the same. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to design a life where success is built in, where your environment, schedule, habits, and routines make progress automatic. You eliminate chaos. You delete the unnecessary. You organize your mind, your space, your time around a single truth. I don't rise to the level of motivation. I rise to the strength of my system. So build the system. Build it now. Build it before life tests you again. Because life will test you, and in that moment, it won't be your mood that saves you. It'll be your system. Not your feelings, your framework, not your passion, your process. That's what makes you consistent. That's what makes you durable. And that's what makes your results inevitable. Chapter 13. Ruthless Elimination of Distractions. The discipline that builds dominance. Distraction is the silent killer of greatness. It doesn't come with alarms. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It steals seconds, then minutes, then entire days. And before you realize what's happened, you've built a life that's busy, but completely directionless. In today's world, you are not just fighting laziness. You are fighting noise. Constant, mind-numbing, soul-depleting noise. And the ones who lose are not the weak. They're the ones who are talented, ambitious, capable, but scattered. The truth is brutal. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you can't focus. It doesn't matter how hard you work if your time is fractured. Distraction is not just annoying. It's lethal. It's the most socially accepted form of self-destruction on the planet. And until you get ruthless about eliminating it, you will never dominate anything. Discipline and distraction cannot coexist. Every time you check your phone impulsively, scroll aimlessly, or multitask during important work, you are choosing distraction over mastery. Every time you answer a pointless message, get pulled into a meaningless conversation, or react to another person's chaos, you are leaking mental energy that could have built something powerful. And the damage is deeper than you realize. It's not just lost time, it's fragmented thinking. It's fractured concentration. It's the inability to sit with hard problems and push through. Distraction rewires your brain to avoid depth. It kills your patience. It turns you into someone who starts a lot, finishes nothing, and feels exhausted from doing everything except what actually matters. If you want to reclaim your time, your mind, your power, you must wage war on distraction. Not gently, not casually, but with violent clarity, with boundaries that cannot be negotiated, with systems that don't allow it in the first place. Because the truth is, distraction is not something you control. It's something you must eliminate. Block it at the source. Delete the app. Mute the group chat. Turn off notifications permanently. Set hard time blocks and defend them like your life depends on it. Because it does. You are either building your vision or consuming someone else's. You are either in deep work or you're watching someone pretend to be productive online. Every day, every hour, you are either sharpening your mind or dulling it with noise disguised as connection, content, and catching up. But this goes deeper. Distraction isn't just digital, it's internal. The thoughts that pull you into self-doubt, regret, comparison, and fear, these too are distractions. They are emotional parasites disguised as reflection. But if it doesn't move you forward, it's not reflection. It's rumination. Kill it. Kill the habit of spiraling mentally when things get uncomfortable. Build the habit of recentering, refocusing, locking in. Train your mind to return to what matters, and train your environment to support that process. If your phone is near you, you'll touch it. If your notifications are on, they will control you. If your workspace is messy, your thinking will follow. So design your surroundings like a fortress. Nothing gets in unless it feeds your focus. The most successful people in the world aren't always the most talented, but they are the most protected. They have guards around their time, filters around their inputs, and systems around their energy. They say no more than they say yes. They leave people on red. They ignore trends. They're not online. They're in the zone. They don't need to be everywhere. They only need to be where their power is maximized, and that discipline makes them lethal. Because while the world is distracted, they are building. While others are busy reacting, they are creating. While most people are drained by chaos, they are energized by clarity. That's what happens when you eliminate distraction. It's not just about focus. It's about power, presence, dominance. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. The silence will feel awkward. The boredom will creep in. Your dopamine receptors will beg you for stimulation. But lean into it. Train it. Because beyond that wall of discomfort is a mind no longer addicted to noise. A mind that can think. A mind that can go deep. A mind that can actually finish what it starts. That's the discipline most people will never know, because they're too busy reacting to a world that profits from their attention. But not you. Not anymore. You're done being accessible to everything and committed to nothing. You're done letting the world steal your mind and sell it back to you in useless scrolls and shallow updates. You are building something now, and that requires full presence, full focus, and full control. So, eliminate the distraction, not reduce it, not manage it, eliminate it. Set rules and follow them like your life depends on it. Turn off every alert that pulls you into nonsense. Clear your workspace, clean your digital space, filter your conversations, schedule your input, audit your digital diet, and train your brain to go deep again, because the one who can focus the longest will win. Period. Not the most talented, not the loudest, the most focused. In a world where everyone is chasing everything, the one who locks in on one thing, ruthlessly, becomes unstoppable. That's your edge. That's your weapon. Use it. Chapter 14. Build mental fortitude. Train your mind to endure what breaks others. Your mind is your fortress, or it's your prison. It will either protect you in chaos or collapse under pressure. The difference between people who break and people who rise isn't luck. It's not intelligence. It's not even experience. It's fortitude, mental fortitude. The ability to stand firm when everything around you is shaking. The power to stay calm when life hits harder than expected. Most people are mentally fragile, not because they're bad people, but because they've never trained their mind to suffer with purpose. They've built comfort, not character. They've spent their lives avoiding pain, avoiding pressure, avoiding challenge, and what you avoid, you weaken. That's why the first sign of discomfort breaks them. One setback ruins their day. One insult ruins their self-worth. One delay kills their momentum. They have no inner armor. But if you want to build a life that lasts, you must build mental fortitude so strong that nothing external can shake your internal command. Fortitude is not born. It is built, and it's built the hard way, through discipline, through hardship, through controlled suffering. You build mental strength the same way you build muscle, by testing your limits and refusing to back down. You must voluntarily put yourself in situations that require resilience. Wake up early, train when tired, stay calm when provoked, work when unmotivated, stay disciplined when no one's watching. Every time you endure what others avoid, you become stronger, not louder, not harder, but more composed. And that composure becomes your weapon. Because the world doesn't stop. Life doesn't get easier. The only thing you can control is the strength of the mind you bring to it. Mental fortitude means you no longer break when life isn't fair. You stop asking for fairness. You stop looking for ease. You stop waiting for the path to open. Fortitude doesn't wait. It walks through walls. It doesn't beg. It builds. It doesn't complain. It converts pressure into power. And this isn't about ego. It's about clarity. You understand that no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to make it easier. The world will test you endlessly. And unless you train for that test every single day, you will break like everyone else. You will retreat when you should rise. But not if you build a mind that expects hardship and still acts. That expects pressure and still breathes. That expects setbacks and still moves forward. Mental fortitude also means emotional discipline. You don't overreact to noise. You don't chase validation. You don't flinch every time someone doubts you. Because when you've trained your mind to endure pain, discomfort, boredom, betrayal, you no longer fear these things. You absorb them. You carry them. You outlast them. Because you've been through worse and kept going. Fortitude is forged in silence, in solitude, in showing up on the days when your body is weak and your mind is full of doubt, and you do the work anyway. It's not pretty. It's not impressive, but it's real. And it builds a version of you that cannot be destroyed by life's randomness. Train yourself to expect challenge, to lean into it. Stop craving a life without storms. Learn to stand in the rain until the sky clears, because that's how fortitude is built. Not in the absence of struggle, but in your ability to stay grounded in the middle of it. Practice calmness, not comfort. Practice clarity, not speed. Practice patience, not perfection. You will fail. You will stumble. But if your mind is conditioned for pain, you won't stay down. You won't collapse. You won't let one day of darkness define your entire journey. You'll absorb the hit, process the emotion, and get back to work. Ask yourself this: what breaks me? Then go face it, not once, repeatedly. Train the very thing that triggers you. If criticism weakens you, seek feedback until you grow from it. If discomfort derails you, make it your daily routine. If rejection wounds you, expose yourself to it until it loses its sting. The more you face, the less fear has control. That's how you rewire the mind. Not by thinking positively, but by acting powerfully. By proving to yourself that you can handle what used to destroy you. Over time, this becomes your edge. While others avoid pressure, you perform in it. While others complain about pain, you turn it into progress. While others are mentally drowning, you're mentally focused, clear, untouchable. So understand this: fortitude is a daily decision, a process, a standard. It's not a one-time event. It's a lifelong mentality. Every day is a chance to reinforce it. And every time you choose the hard way, the focused way, the patient way, you are putting another brick in the walls of your mental fortress. And eventually, nothing breaks you. Not because life gets easier, but because you've built yourself harder, stronger, clearer, sharper. And in a world that's growing softer by the second, that kind of discipline makes you rare. That kind of resilience makes you respected. And that kind of fortitude makes you unstoppable. Lesson 15. Final domination. Locking in the mindset for life mastery. This is where everything you've learned either becomes permanent or gets buried by the next wave of distraction, weakness, or hesitation. This is the final threshold. Final domination isn't about one more hack or another motivational surge. It's about sealing in the mindset that nothing can shake. Because until your mindset is locked, life will keep testing your discipline, your purpose, your consistency. It will keep throwing chaos, excuses, and temptation in your path until it finds out who you really are. And if your identity hasn't been rebuilt brick by brick through suffering, structure, and self-control, you'll fall back. You'll slip. You'll forget who you're becoming. That's why this final lesson is not about hype. It's about cement. It's about locking in everything. For good. Domination doesn't mean control over others. It means complete control over yourself, over your emotions, over your time, over your reactions, over your process, over the way you respond when the world doesn't play fair. Final domination means you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You're no longer influenced by moods, opinions, noise, or outcomes. Your actions flow from identity, not impulse. You no longer hope for discipline. You are discipline. You no longer try to be focused. You embody focus. You no longer seek validation. You move with internal confirmation. This is what life mastery looks like. Not perfection, but control. Control rooted in clarity, routines, structure, and standards that no longer bend. The average person fluctuates. They rise with good days and collapse with bad ones. They commit when motivated and disappear when challenged. They let failure redefine them and comfort control them. But those who dominate, those who lock in for life, understand this law. Success is not for the emotional. It's for the consistent. It's for the person who executes through pain. The one who keeps their word even in the dark. The one who trains until it becomes unnatural not to win. That's domination. When your standards are higher than your excuses. When your schedule doesn't need a second opinion. When your life is built around purpose so deeply that noise cannot pull you away from it. You must decide, who are you now? Not who were you when this journey started. That version of you is dead. Not who you were when things were easy. That version was untested. But who are you now? After building systems, mastering emotions, eliminating distractions, repeating consistent action, and becoming mentally unbreakable. You are no longer training for the moment. You are the moment. You are no longer preparing for battle. You are the battlefield. That's the shift. Life mastery isn't about waiting for the right time. It's about becoming the person who dominates no matter the time, the setting, the pressure. Lock in this truth. You are now a finisher, not a starter, not a thinker, not a someday maybe hopeful. A finisher. The kind of person who completes what they commit to. The kind of person who shows up after the motivation is dead, after the feelings have faded, after the weather, the mood, the circumstances have failed to provide comfort. Final domination is about final form. When who you are no longer relies on your environment. When your rituals and routines run your day regardless of what's happening outside of you. It's when quitting becomes incompatible with your character. And that level, life mastery, can't be faked. It can't be outsourced. It can only be earned in the trenches of repetition and reflection. Now audit your life. What's still in the way? What behaviors haven't fully died? What mindsets still sneak in when you're weak? Kill them. All of them. Ruthlessly. Life mastery is not built on what you keep. It's built on what you eliminate. Average habits, weak people, loose language, soft routines. Remove everything that delays the final version of you. Every inch of your life should reflect your mission. Every action should affirm your values. Every word you speak should match the identity you've built in silence. And if it doesn't, cut it. Because final domination is a full system commitment. No cracks, no contradictions, no compromises. And here's the last truth. You do not arrive. Life mastery is not an endpoint. It is a lifelong standard. It is maintained, not finished, and that means every single day forward, you recommit, you reload, you refine. Not because you're weak, but because you've become too strong to allow yourself to slip. You don't do this for applause anymore. You don't need it. You do this because the life you're building demands a version of you that cannot be shaken. And now, you are that version. Built through fire, hardened through silence, proven by repetition. Now you don't need motivation. You are momentum. Now you don't need hype. You are the machine. So lock it in. This is final domination. From here on out, nothing gets in unless it serves your mission. No emotion runs unchecked. No habit lives unexamined. No time is wasted. You are no longer chasing change. You are change. From this point forward, the work continues. Not because you're struggling to become, but because you've decided never to return to who you were. And that decision, that final internal command, is what makes you unstoppable. This is life mastery. This is the end of hesitation. This is the beginning of forever. Final conclusion. The discipline that redefines your life. You've made it through the fire. Not just the words, the mindset, the structure, the battle plan. 15 lessons that weren't written to entertain you, but to rebuild you. Slowly, brutally, permanently. Now you have the truth that most people will never accept. Discipline isn't punishment. It's freedom. Freedom from emotional chaos. Freedom from wasted years. Freedom from regret. Because the undisciplined are always chasing, always comparing, always delaying. But the disciplined, they become, they build, they endure, they dominate, quietly, relentlessly, without asking for permission. You've learned how to kill excuses, how to override weakness, how to build systems, focus, and fortitude that do not bend to pressure. You've learned that emotion is not your compass. Commitment is. That motivation is temporary, but identity is permanent. You've learned that your life doesn't change when you feel inspired. It changes when you execute, no matter what. This is your new standard now. You no longer wait to be ready. You move, you act, you finish, because you don't rise to the level of your hopes. You rise to the level of your systems, your standards, your self-control. Most people will live and die inside the walls of their comfort zone. They'll keep negotiating with laziness, keep escaping discomfort, keep telling themselves, someday. But not you, not anymore. Because now you've seen what's possible when discipline becomes your identity, when silence becomes your focus, when structure becomes your power. You no longer fear hard days. You are trained for them. You no longer chase balance. You chase clarity. You don't ask for an easier path. You sharpen your mind for the one you're already on. You are no longer the person who starts and stops. You are the person who finishes. You are the one who locks in when others fade, the one who endures what breaks others, the one who leads with calm, executes with precision, and walks in silence until the results speak for themselves. And now there is no turning back. You are the system. You are the structure. You are the storm. This is the power of discipline. And now it belongs to you. Use it.